We are discussing with the pin photodiode, and we know that it is going to operate in two different versions or two different modes. Before you applying the reverse bias voltage, it is normally operating in the forward bias voltage and acting like a normal rectifier diode. So where majority of the current is contributed by the majority carriers, not because of the photons, because of the reduced width of the depletion region or intrinsic region. So this happens because the small size of the intrinsic region, less number of photons will be observed, and hence the contribution to the current by these photons will be less as compared to the contribution made by the majority carriers. Hence, in the forward bias condition, the pin photodiode is acting like a photovoltaic diode or normal rectifier diode. So when you go with the reverse bias voltage, the depletion region or intrinsic region will becomes widened and will is absorbing more number of photons as compared with the forward bias voltage. So now the contribution to the current by these increased photons will be more as compared with the majority carriers, because now you are operating your pin diode in the photodiode in the reverse bias region, and the majority carriers are less in number as compared to the photons which are observed by the intrinsic region. So therefore, more photo carriers will be generated in the reverse bias region. Hence, it is known as a photoconductive rather than photovoltaic. Voltage, it will refers to the majority carriers, and photoconductive, it will be referring to the conductivity that we are achieving because of the majority of the photons which are absorbed in the intrinsic region. And moreover, now we are going to get more optical output power if you further increase this reverse bias voltage nearer to the breakdown and beyond the breakdown voltage, the where we are going to see avalanche effect. So the change in reverse bias current per unit change in the optical power is known as the responsivity of the photodiode. So this is one of the first term or characteristics of the pin photodiode. So responsivity means it is the change in the reverse bias current. This one we are talking about the reverse bias current to the unit change in the optical power, because the responsivity is gone increasing from forward to reverse and then to the breakdown region. Why? Because we are widening the intrinsic region so that its absorption capacity for the photons will be go on increasing. That in turn increases its uh, quantum efficiency or the optical output power. That is the responsivity of the photodiode. So another parameter what we are getting is cutoff wavelength, that refers to uh, the absorption of the photon over limited wavelength range. Because each light ray or photons are coming with a particular wavelength. Remember, we are discussing the photodetectors. It is meant for the absorption of the photons. Okay, so not generation. That to keep in mind. So cutoff wavelength, it will be setting some limitation uh, depending on the wavelength of the photons or the light that is falling on the detector. So two things are there here. Cutoff wavelength means uh, the absorption capacity or limitation of the intrinsic region. Okay, it is meant to absorb the photons. So rather saying that it depends on the material with which the intrinsic layer is made up of. Of course, it depends on that also. But now we are defining the cutoff wavelength, so it should be specific to the light or the photons which are falling on that eye region. Okay, so that wavelength of the photon itself is going to limit on how many photons to be delivered or delivered to the eye region or absorbed by the eye region, in other words. So in more in this context, a definite way to tell this one, it is the maximum wavelength up to which we can get the absorption of the photons by the eye region, and is determined by the band gap energy also, easy of the material. So it depends on the material characteristics also. So it depends on both. The cutoff wavelength actually refers to the wavelength of the light itself, but also depends on the band gap energy that depends on the material property. So if you take the ratio of these two, Sc by Eg, Sc is a Planck constant, C is the velocity of light. You have to remember it is not will not be given in the problem, divided by Eg. So here is one example. So he'll be giving for the particular gallium arsenide photodiode having the band gap energy of 1.43 electron volt. So he's asking you, so he has given on Eg 1.43 electron volt. So that you have to substitute here and you will get the lambda c cutoff wavelength. Another parameter is a quantum efficiency, that is defined as the number of electron hole pair carriers per generated per incident photon of energy HV. So remember guys, the quantum efficiency comes in both the sides. In photo generators, photo sources like LED lasers, quantum efficiency refers to net number of photons generated out of how many electron hole pairs are uh, generated due to the recombination process. Okay, it is just exactly reverse of that. If you are going to define the quantum efficiency, if you want to interpret it from the photodetector point of view. From the photodetector point of view, now we are getting the photons which are absorbed. So from this, how many net electron hole pair recombinations are happening, pairs are generated, that we have to assess from this quantum efficiency. Okay, quantum efficiency term will be same, but its interpretation will be, you can say, what you can say, mutually exclusive as far as the photons, photo sources and photodetectors are concerned. So and is given by, so this one, the number of electron hole pair generated to the number of incident photons, and is given by number of electron hole pair generated, that is equal to IP by Q. IP is the average photocurrent, Q is the charge, and pin, it will indicate the average optical power incident on the photodetector. Example, in 100 nanosecond pulse, 6 mega photons with 1300 nanometer wavelength are falling on the indium gallium arsenide photodetector. So what are the things he has given here? Number of photons at a particular wavelength are falling. On an average, 5.4 mega electron hole pairs are generated. So that you can keep in the numerator directly. And in the denominator, you get the number of photons, 6 mega photons are generated. So the quantum efficiency will be 90%, or it is unitless quantity, it is a 0.9. So till now we have seen three characteristics. Another one will get the detector responsivity. So for the photodetector, it is going to be the ratio of current output, that is IP, in amperes to the incident optical power input. So this one formula, the square bracket what I have shown, you have to remember. That is in terms of the uh, zeta and h, it will be given, and the problem are directly straightforward. So these are the some parameters you have to remember. Sometimes it will be asked as a definition, define the terms, and some numericals may be asked. So next we'll continue with the avalanche photodiode. That is another version of the photodetector. So just now, for you to understand, here you can see. So here I told that the photo detector is going to operate in three different regions. Forward bias region, then reverse bias region, then breakdown region. In the breakdown region, now we are discussing. So this one. So what is happening is that with the pin diode, the output current what you are getting is very, very low. We are discussing photodetector. We are trying to, this device is trying to convert your photons into the current. That current, after converting what you are getting, it is in terms of microamperes. That is very, very low. So the gain is also going to be very, very less. So in order to overcome this, in order to enhance or in order to increase this output current, optical output current, or the gain of the photodiode, so we have to make the diode to operate in the reverse bias voltage very much nearer to the breakdown voltage or in the breakdown voltage you can say. So what is happening here is that in the breakdown voltage, nearer to the breakdown voltage, suppose if you are keeping your reverse bias voltage nearer to the breakdown voltage or in the breakdown region. So what is happening? The width of the depletion region is very large. You are allowing more light or photons to fall on that to absorb by this photodiode. Of course, the number of photons, the density of it, what you want to convert it back to the current is very large. But in case of the pin diode, uh, of course, situation is similar, but intrinsic region is widened, but not this much widened. Almost they are similar, a little bit widened here. That's all. Of course, that one pin diode also was operated in the reverse bias. Now we are going just beyond that, very much nearer to the breakdown voltage. It has been still further increased. Your depletion width is still further increased. And now what we have to do with these little bit more increased in number of photons that we want to convert it to the current. Of course, we are getting more current, but still it is in the micro amperes. But you have to get it at least in terms of milliamperes. For that, once you operate the diode in the breakdown region, so this phenomenon will occur. That is known as impact ionization. Okay. So what do you mean by impact ionization? So here what is happening is that, so whenever the photons are falling on the increased depletion width, okay, a little bit increased compared to the reverse bias region, okay, increased depletion width. So in pin diode, try to recall, you got the three layers, P plus, I and N plus, okay. So photons are falling on the I region, okay, and these are converted to carriers. Electron hole pairs are generated and carriers are generated in the where in the intrinsic region. You are in the reverse bias mode now. We are now in the reverse bias mode. We are discussing what is the status of P and I regions. They are in the reverse bias region. Majority carriers are not going to contribute. So minority carriers will be there. They are contributing very less current. That is in terms of microamperes. So only contribution to the current that we are guessing or expecting is only from the electron EH pairs which are generating in the I region. Okay. So that is the situation in the pin region. Okay. With the reverse bias condition. Now we gone beyond reverse bias condition in the avalanche APD avalanche APD, that is avalanche photodiode. Same situation setup. We are increasing little bit further reverse bias voltage, going beyond that, reaching nearer to the breakdown or in the breakdown. Your I region still further widens. It still further absorbs more number of 2-3 photons more. Now, what extra thing here it is happening is that which will increase the current, not low, will get more current here. Here, what is happening is that photons are falling as usual. EH pairs are generating as usual, but still little bit more in number. But how we are getting more current? Because of the avalanche effect. Okay, how the avalanche effect is happening here? So in the breakdown region, nearer to the breakdown region, when the photons are falling and generating the EH pairs, so these generated EH pairs in the I region are made to achieve uh, saturation velocities. They will achieve maximum velocity as compared with those EH pairs which were generated in the PIN diode, that is I region of the PIN diode. ಯಾಕಂದ್ರೆ ನಾವು reverse bias voltage we further increased very much nearer to the breakdown or in the breakdown region. So this is going to increase the velocity of the EH pairs which are generated in the I region or depletion region. Their velocity is so high that it will start bombarding with the nearby atoms and start doing this. What is this one? Multiplication of carriers. This is known as multiplication of carriers. This is known as avalanche effect. There are two versions in the APD: impact ionization and another one is avalanche effect. Impact ionization is one, the phenomena that we are going to call Zener breakdown. Andreno. So this phenomena is just concerned with increasing the velocity of the EH pairs generated in the recombination region or the I region. Okay. Once velocity, saturation velocity is achieved by our EH pairs, they'll start bombarding with the nearby atoms and dislodging still more EH pairs. Multiplication of carriers will be start happening. That is known as the avalanche effect. Both two phenomena are there involved in the APD: impact ionization and another that leads to avalanche effect. Try to understand here. What is the condition required? Reverse bias voltage just beyond the reverse bias region, that is nearer to the breakdown or in the breakdown region. Understanding? So try to understand these two phenomena. So these two phenomena, the impact ionization will increase the, uh, it makes the saturation velocity, it will make EH pairs to achieve the saturation velocity. That is the impact ionization, what is happening. Hello? Okay. Because of increased velocity of these EH pairs, they will lead to avalanche effect, that is multiplication of carriers. So this is what the background we have behind the avalanche photodiode. So commonly used structure for an APD for achieving carrier multiplication is a reach-through construction. So that's what is known as a RAPD. That is a reach-through avalanche photodiode. What is this reach-through construction? That we'll see now. Now, till now, context to this slide, I have given sufficient background or justification why we are going from PIN to RAPD or APD, APD or RAPD. What is the need for that? This is the need. And what are the two phenomena which are involved in the APD, which are actually uh, giving us the larger current or the gain? 200 times more than that of the PIN diode we are getting the current. The condition is this. These are the two phenomena will give us from low to high current, low to high gain, 200 times more. Now for our syllabus, we have this RAPD, there is a reach through avalanche photodiode construction. Let us see how it looks. You have to draw this diagram. 4 layers are there. Okay, there are 4 layers. So the gain up to 200 we are getting. Here. So let us see the construction here first. Plus it will indicate highly doped. more conductivity, less resistivity. Remember these things. P plus and N plus. Okay. So two ends, extreme ends. First you see P plus and N plus regions are heavily doped, highly conductive with a low resistivity. This much you remember. Next, answer hinge barayangilla. Okay, you have to remember the things, understand the things, logically try to connect the points, consolidate yourself, your words or answers or statements, then you write in your own words. One suggestion at this point, just I want to give, whenever you sit for looking at these video lectures, sit with a pen and paper and do these things. So next reasons we got left with P minus reason, that is known as a pi reason. That is actually the intrinsic reason. A very thin, lightly minus P minus, it will indicate lightly doped. Lightly doped means a low conductivity. Okay, high resistivity will be there. And next we got another reason that is known as a avalanche reason. Its doping is very less. Its conductivity is very less compared to this. You can see the electrical conductivity of all these layers has been depicted here. Electric field distribution, not conductivity. Sorry. So we can say extreme two ends are acting like a good conductors with a very low resistivity. Resistivity is very low, starting with a very low resistivity on either ends. Then P minus, why resistivity is very low? Because they are heavily doped. Doping profile is very high, resistivity is very low. Next, doping profile is a little bit reduced in P minus or the absorption region where the photons will be absorbed. Okay, doping profile is little bit reduced. Doping profile is reduced means its conductivity is a little bit less reduced. Resistivity is a little bit increased compared to P plus and N plus. So how we can think in terms of the curves here? Here he has just shown electric field distribution curve. You can also imagine yourself uh, doping profile curve from P plus and N plus. From the ends it will be increasing, then it will be reduced, it will be increasing from the ends, and at the P minus it will be reduced little bit, and P it will be very much reduced. Opposite to that, uh, resistivity, highly doped, resistivity is very much less on either ends. Doping is a little bit reduced in the P minus region. Understanding here what I'm telling? I am just giving you the just a glimpse or imagine is how to imagine these curves. Okay, once again, how it is. Doping profile will be maximum in the end regions with a little bit reduced in the P minus region and very much reduced in the P region. Likewise, conductivity is larger at the ends, little bit reduced in the P minus region and very much reduced in the P region. So opposite to conductivity, resistivity will be there. Other reverse curve you have to imagine. Okay. So hence resistivity is very much high in the avalanche region we are going to call. Here only we are getting more gain. Okay. So this reason is very much important. Next comes this. So this reason is giving rise to this phenomenon. And this phenomenon is occurring here. Understanding? Your impact ionization phenomena is occurring in the pi region. And avalanche effect is happening in the Pn plus region. That's what is known as the avalanche region. So that's why you can see at this junction we are getting impact ionization. So this is all about the structure I told. Another one thing, before you conclude your structure, you have to conclude with saying that how you are going to operate this RAPD. So uh, one minute, one more thing. Why it is called reach through avalanche photodiode. So that we can further explore in detail during operation. Why it is called reach through. So okay, one thing is that why it is called reach through is the phenomena that is impact ionization is happening after absorption of photons in the pi region. That leads to another phenomena, that is avalanche effect, that is happening at the Pn plus region at this junction. So reach through avalanche photodiode means the photons which are absorbed in the pi region leading to impact ionization reaching through this P minus junction to N plus P junction where avalanche effect is leading. Means pi region, photons absorbed in the pi region are reaching through this P minus junction to N plus P junction, leading to avalanche effect and increasing the gain. That's what is known as a reach through avalanche photodiode. This also you can code before you conclude the construction. So finally, you are going to conclude the construction by saying that how you are going to operate this diode APD in the reverse bias mode. Obviously, people should be connected, should be connected to negative. Okay, and they should be connected to positive. Okay, this is a reverse bias one. We should be negative and plus or two. Yeah, plus. So that will keep this reason. This reason is very important, guys. Pn plus reason in the reverse bias or this condition. This condition is important. We are keeping this junction in the reverse bias or a breakdown region. Okay. Now what is happening is that now I am telling this all about the construction, guys. Okay. You have to conclude the construction by telling all these things. So hang by three construction. You draw these things. Only this one curve you draw. That is, if you want, you can draw other two curves also. First, you tell about how many layers are there. Then you go on explaining their widths and their doping profiles. For that one curve, you can imagine. If you want, you can draw and tell. Next, you can imagine its conductivity profile. If you want, you can imagine its curve and explain. Next, exactly opposite to that conductivity curve, you will be getting resistivity curve. You can imagine and draw and explain if you want. That's why we are telling in the examinations wherever it is required to draw the necessary diagrams. Necessary diagram doesn't mean that only the diagrams you practiced or it is given in the textbook or it is given wherever notes or maybe wherever the source. It is also necessary diagram means that the diagram which you feel necessary to explain the answers, your points. Okay. So whatever the points you want to put, you want to convince, all those diagrams are coming under necessary. Only thing you have to feel it. Then after doing all these things, you have to conclude with the 2 points why it is called RAPD, and you have to conclude with saying that uh, it will be operated like this in the reverse bias mode. Okay. So after this, we'll continue how these two phenomena are going to occur in the operation aspect. So during operation, your LED is here. This is a detector, remember. Uh, Your LED lens is here. Okay, your photons will start falling here in the pi region. That's what it is meant. It is lightly doped compared to the extreme two regions. Your photons are falling here. Your photons are coming here, involving the recombination process, generating EH pairs. So here EH pairs will be generated. Okay. So these EH pairs are made to achieve saturation velocity because of this condition. Okay. So impact ionization takes place. Impact ionization means so at the junction of a P minus and P junction, will start getting the EH pairs by the falling photon from this lens on this detector. EH pairs will start achieving the saturation velocity and they will start crossing P minus junction and start entering into N plus P region where exactly this reverse bias junction has been formed. Avalanche region has been kept. Then these the EH pairs which are coming are entering into this region with the saturation velocity, very high velocity, they will dislodge with the nearby atoms, leading to multiplication of the carriers. That's why you can see the electric field distribution will be suddenly achieved to its peak at this junction, N plus P junction. That's why I told this junction is known as a gain junction, and this one is known as the absorption region. And if I will put some threshold, means how much electric field it will generate, if I will put some threshold, for example, 5 into 10 to the power of 4 voltage per meter, beyond that whatever you are getting, that is a gain. So that leads to around up to 200s of gain we are able to achieve. That is the main advantage of this RAPD. Means the photons which are falling in the absorption region or intrinsic region, making EH pairs to achieve the saturation velocity with help of the impact ionization, crossing PP minus region, reaching through this junction to N plus P region, a junction with more density of EH pairs because they are dislodging with neighboring atoms and coming with the more EH pairs or density. And multiplication is happening again, bombarding again and again in this region, and we are getting high gain or high current. So this is how the things are happening here. That's what is known as a reach through photodiode. Okay. So the multiplication is given by decided by these two things, Im by Ip. Ip is the photocurrent. Im the things what you are getting because of this avalanche region. Now let us look at the advantage of this APD, RAPD. Only advantage what you are getting is the high gain because of the avalanche gain. Remaining all are disadvantages. Thing is that starting beginning with the high voltage is required to reverse bias it. High reverse bias voltage leads to high noise, and avalanche means output is not linear with respect to input. Non-linear is there. Okay, so these are the some of the things you have to remember as far as this RAPD. If you want to conclude with some advantages and disadvantages. So likewise, here also we are getting responsivity. Responsivity of APT is given by this formula, that is a zeta Q by HV. QHV, Q and H are constants here, charge of the electron and Planck's constant into M. So V is C by lambda, that also we get. So here I have written a responsivity formula in terms of m, in terms of c and lambda, and also just in terms of the m with unity gain responsivity. If I take a simple example, a given silicon avalanche photodiode has a quantum efficiency of 65%. That is, zeta is given 0.65. At a wavelength 900 nanometers, that is dominant wavelength, m is given 9 into 10 to the power minus 7 meter. Suppose 0.5 microwatt of optical power, 0.5 microwatt optical power produces multiplied photocurrent of 10 microampere. So m is 0.5 microwatt optical power, that is m, produces multiplied photocurrent of 10 microampere. Okay. So find the multiplication m. So first to find out the primary photocurrent, that is IP. With all these values you can substitute, you will get this much. Once you get IP, you can get m, that is multiplication factor Im by IP, using this formula. You can have many numericals in the notes that I will be uploading it today. So likewise, next one, another parameter or characteristic with respect to the photodetector, what you discuss is the photodetector noise. Photodiode acts like a detector, a very weak optical signal we are getting. So photodetector noise normally defined as the ratio of signal power from the photocurrent to the noise plus amplifier noise. Amplifier, if you are getting any amplified signal, that is also coming with the noise. Noise sources in the receiver are going to increase. Again, if it is detected, it is also going to increase. So these are all statistical, static in nature, because photon to electron conversion process and thermal noises of the amplifier circuitry, once you design, they are fixed with the design values, and whatever the noises you are getting are also static in nature, and they are going to reduce this if they will increase. So the requirement here is that in optical communication, we need to have the photodetector with high quantum efficiency with a low noise. You have to keep this noise as low as possible. Again, it depends on the sensitivity of the photodetector. It is the optical power that is required to produce photocurrent of the same magnitude as the RMS of the total noise, that is SNR of 1. Means what? Let us look at this one. You can understand the photodetector noise with respect to detector response time. So this is another important aspect as far as the photodiodes are concerned. This is the normal pin diode we are taking to understand it easily. Reverse bias voltage. Here, guys, try to understand uh, noise is different and response time now we are discussing. Noise here, it means noise related to all these things. Normally, sometimes you'll get a short note. Noise is there in the amplifier and also is there in the photodetector, and also it is there from which you are getting these photons. It is amplified, absorbed by the photodetector. Again, the noise is detector. All these are static things. So see that you have to use such kind of a photodetector which will be having more quantum efficiency, more quantum output, photocurrent output as compared with noise. That's what they are going to putting that point. In the detector response time, The response time depends on the carriers which is generated in the PNN regions by the diffusion process, and also depends on the carriers which are generated in the depletion region by the drift. Okay, here the your the photons will be absorbed here. Your lens will be kept here. Okay, your lens will be here. Your photons are coming here. Sorry. Your photons are falling in this depletion layer. And EH pairs will be generated, and they'll start to carriers will be generated. They'll start try to drift from I region to PNN regions. So the carriers generated in the depletion region will try to drift away from this depletion region, and the carriers which are generated in the P and N region try to diffuse into this reverse bias region. So two kinds of carriers are generated. The carriers are there based on how they are going to move. Diffuser carriers in the P and N regions try to diffuse into the depletion layers because of the reverse bias condition. Another one, the carriers which are generated in the I region will try to drift away, try to move away from the I to P and N regions. So the total current density is equal to drift current density plus diffusion current density. Let us see how they will be given by the equations. No derivation as such. We have the equations and we have to explain their significance. Drift current density is given by IP by A, photo current divided by the area. A is the photodiode area and is given by Q pi naught into bracket 1 minus e to the power of some exponentially decaying factor, and that depends on the absorption factor. Pi naught incident photon flux per unit area, and as the surface P layer is very thin, this one, this P layer are very thin, highly conducting. The diffusion current is decided by the diffusion, hole diffusion from bulk N region. So this whole diffusion is given by this equation. Okay, because this drift current density depends on the absorption factor. If the absorption factor is less, this will also be less. Less number of photons will be absorbed. In that case, it will be entirely decided by the hole diffusion, where dP is the hole diffusion coefficient, Pn hole concentration in the N-type material, tau P there the lifetime, and Pn naught equilibrium hole density. G of x will be the EH pair generation rate. Now this EH pair generation rate in the I layer given by initial photon flux into the absorption coefficient with decaying factor e to the power of minus alpha sx. Now the diffusion current density that will exist in the P and N layers is given by Q pi naught alpha s LP by 1 plus alpha s LP e to the power of some decaying factor plus this Q P naught dP by LP. That is a diffusion of the holes. So the total current density is the combination of these two. Combination of this and this. If you use these two, we'll get this equation. So this is all about the detector response time. That is a combination of both diffusion carriers and the drift carriers. Next one, we want to conclude today's discussion is with respect to response time. Factors that decide the response time of the photodiode are the transit time. Means It is concerned with the carriers within the depletion region. Means how much time they will take to drift away from the I region to P and N region. It depends on the width of that depletion region. Okay, the depletion width is larger, then they will take more time. That is the transit time. Transit time concerned with the time taken for the carriers in the diffusion layer to move away from that diffusion layer to PNN regions, transit away from that. Diffusion time concerned with the carriers, diffusion carriers, how much time they will take to diffusion to the depletion region. As diffusion process normally it is very slow compared to transit, the drifting of the carriers, it will take more time. So therefore you can see the percent of the total output versus time if you put for any particular photo detector. Initial response from the fast carriers is from the uh, drifting of those carriers, because remember we are discussing the photodetector in the reverse bias case. Majority of the contribution we are getting from the EH pairs which are generated in the I region, that is the depletion region. They are drifting very much fastly as compared to the diffusion of the carriers from the P and N region to the depletion region. So initial 50% of the total output is contributed by these photons, leading to EH pairs moving with a saturation velocity from the depletion region to the nearby P and N regions. They are contributing to the much initial 50% of the power. Later, the slow carriers, that is the diffusion carriers, these things, which are slowly diffusing into this, they will take more time and leading to the slow response, like this flattening of the curve. So this response entirely depends on the RC time constant of the diode and external circuitry. The response to rectangular input pulse of a low capacitance photodiode, the width is very much larger than the 1 by alpha S absorption factor. If the input is rectangular pulse for the wide depletion region with a small capacitance, we are getting the output like this, rising and falling edges like this. Okay. The rise and fall times normally follows the input pulse. They are following the input pulse. And if the photodiode capacitance is larger, here it is smaller, we got this output following the input. That is good. But what if the photodiode capacitance is larger than the response time, RC time constant? Okay. For too narrow depletion region, carriers from the undepleted material diffuse back into the depletion region before they could collect it. Means they are responding slowly. Here you can say two things will get: larger capacitance with a more larger width with larger capacitance. What is happening? More width will be there, but larger capacitance. Slow components. Initially, fast components are contributing in the rising time. Fast components means carriers which are there in the drift region. Then are combined with 50%, remaining 50% the rise time are combined with the slow component coming from the diffusion carriers. Again, the falling time, the fast component are contributing, which are coming from the carriers in the drift region. Okay. Similarly, the fast component in the rise time, that's what I explained here, the similar question. So the photodetector response time, finally, we are going to be the trade-off between the absorption factor and the width. If a W is too thin, the junction capacitance become large and hence large RC time constant and limits the detector response time. Hence, there is a trade-off between high frequency response and the high quantum efficiency, and absorption thickness must be kept between these two. So, RC time constant of the photodiode and the circuitry, the photodetector acts like a low pass filter with the pass band given by this with the bandwidth. Okay. So with this, we'll wind up today's discussion and module 3 also.